Canada is on the cusp of finalizing a defense cooperation agreement with Ukraine, and the country's ambassador tells CBC News he's hopeful the Trudeau government will soon allow Canadian companies to export weapons to the embattled nation. Deepening ties and showing solidarity with the war-weary government in Kyiv is one of the major themes of the next few days as Prime Minister Justin Trudeau departs this afternoon for high-level meetings in Eastern Europe. The defense cooperation deal would allow for more direct Canadian military and defense industrial support for Ukraine. We are in conversations with the Canadian government, and the good news is we have practically completed negotiations between our ministries of defense, and this should provide the legal framework for in the future closer cooperation between our two countries, Andriy Shevchenko, the recently appointed Ukrainian ambassador, told CBC News. It is unlikely the deal will be ready for signature, either at this weekend's NATO summit, or when Trudeau visits Kyiv early next week. Trudeau departed for Warsaw Thursday afternoon, accompanied by his son, Xavier, and Defense Minister Harjit Sajjan and Chief of the Defense Staff Gen. Jonathan Vance. The agreement could prove an additional irritation as the Liberal government attempts to reboot Ottawa's relationship with Moscow, which is already upset over Canada's decision to contribute troops and a headquarters unit to a new NATO force. The Liberals have promised to re-engage with Russia. Engage on what? Talk about what? Shevchenko asked. I think at the end of the day it pretty much comes to a moral choice. And it comes to taking sides. At the Leaders' Summit in Poland, Trudeau is expected to lay out more details of the contribution to the High Readiness Brigade being assembled on Russia's western borders. The formation is meant to check Moscow's interference with its neighbors following mounting concerns over the 2014 annexation of Crimea and the Kremlin's continuing support of separatists in eastern Ukraine. Trudeau will also formally sign the free trade deal with Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko later in the trip. A preliminary agreement was negotiated last year by the Harper government, but it's now being formalized. Once that is done, it will have to be approved by the parliaments of both countries. Before the Conservatives were defeated in last fall's election, they began examining whether to add Ukraine to Canada's automatic firearms country control list, which would allow the country's exporters to sell so-called prohibited weapons. The Global Affairs Department has been studying the request as well as conducting consultation for over a year, but did not respond to questions from CBC News about the status of the review. The ambassador said he's confident the Liberal government will sign off on the plan. We are in a conversation and we understand the concerns of Canada, Shevchenko said in an exclusive interview. As an ambassador of a country that's at war, and every day loses people, I would like to see this process moving faster. Both Amnesty International and Project Plowshares wrote to the federal government last summer, expressing concern about allowing Ukraine onto the list of 39 countries where weapons can be sold.